Hi guys, happy 2018. Hope you have had a relaxing holidays, and if you've been checking in on price action, an exciting one at that. What we've seen in the last little while is the cryptocurrency market cap screaming up from around $500,000 around the Christmas time tax break sell-off. Currently we're sitting at, did I say 500,000? I meant 500 billion, my mistake. Now we're at $750 billion. So we've gone up around 50% in the entire cryptocurrency market cap in the span of little under a week. It has been absolutely insane. And what I think is the most interesting part about all of this, because we can all speculate that cryptocurrency blockchain is going to be the foundation of the new internet, the foundation of the way that our world works. But what I'm really excited about is seeing the dominance of Bitcoin and how much it is drastically dropping. Right now, Bitcoin dominance, if you go onto coinmarketcap.com, is sitting around 32.6%. This is the lowest it has ever been. And so I really do want to talk about this for a little while as to what this means, and is Bitcoin king? We have a lot of people saying that Bitcoin is the pegged currency. It will always be number one. And I just have to say, if Bitcoin does not get the Lightning Network soon, there will start to be predecessors that overcome Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin currently does not have the technology that it needs able to support a peer-to-peer transaction system, and this is Satoshi's true vision. You know, a lot of people are starting to backtrack now and say, Bitcoin's actually just a digital store of value. You know, even by saying that, there are better options for it. But what I'm seeing with the Bitcoin community is they're backtracking on what Bitcoin's utility is actually meant for. So Bitcoin as a peer-to-peer payment system not working right now, and we're starting to see that in the market cap of Bitcoin in relation to all the other cryptos. Is now, like I say, at the lowest point it has ever been, 32.6%. We've seen drastic increases. We've seen Ripple climb the charts. It went from 20 cents all the way to $3 in the span of a couple weeks. Absolute insanity. But this is not, then everybody always asks, is this a bubble? And I think this is a very phenomenal question, because in these rises, we're seeing little micro bubbles that are unsustainable growth on a short-term period of time. So if I was someone who is looking at the charts right now and saying, okay, if I'm a swing trader looking for a short-term investment, is this the right time to get in? Potentially not, but is this a bubble currently in the grand scheme of things? And to answer that, I just have to ask a second question, which is essentially, how many applications are you using that run on blockchain currently on your phone today? What in your everyday life are you using that runs on blockchain? And the answer really is not much at all. So we have barely even scratched the surface of blockchain adoption. The chances are is you don't really use any applications rather than buying and selling as an investment strategy. So we have so much more potential room to the upside. The World Economic Forum predicted that by the year 2025, 10% of global GDP would be stored on blockchain. So that would bring it to a market cap of around $10 trillion of just sheer value, which, is 10x, even more from where we are now. But that was predicted 2 years ago, when really smart contracts were barely even coming into existence. Ethereum's only been around here since, 2014, 2015. And that is when this prediction came into being. And now we're really starting to see the full potential of blockchain and how it can be the foundational structure for security, trust, and essentially all transactions that happen, and equality. So blockchain is going to be much larger than simply 10% of global GDP. It will be a foundational structure. You look at things like IOTA that support the Internet of Things, the machine-to-machine economy and microtransactions. This is where our world is heading, as we start to dive into smart cars, as we start to dive into, drones with Amazon that fly, deliver your package, fuel themselves up at smart solar cells. And these use zero fees for transactions, as does something else that you guys should check out called Raiblocks. That is another zero fee solution that's out there right now, IOTA and Raiblocks. You can currently invest in, they're both top 20. Neither of them really have a strong working product or a lot of, I guess you could say, history behind them. But in terms of speculative and very large potential, these are phenomenal investments. Also, something to keep an eye on is hashgraph. This is another project that is using zero fee transactions. And the question that I always get is, So how does something with zero fees even work? Like, where is the viability in this? And so the answer to this is, if I give you $10, so let's imagine these $10 or 10 IOTA or 10 Raiblocks, doesn't matter. How much does it cost for me to give you those $10? Nothing. There's still inherent value in those $10. However, there is no fee. So a no-fee transaction system is actually very viable in blockchain commerce. To keep the system secure, Raiblocks uses something where, as you do your transaction, you're actually doing proof of work yourself on your own device, and it can also work on mobile. And so it wouldn't be essentially financially feasible to try to, DDoS the system or just spam the network, because it would cost too much and it would be unsustainable. And as with IOTA, you have to confirm transactions, the two previous to yourself, and hashgraph as well as similar with, it's called gossip about gossip. So zero fees transactions are a very, very potential solution. And we're going to be seeing more of this. Bitcoin, it was a great pioneer. I think it's for its service, but unless it really starts to pick up its socks, you can quote me on this, that 32 is going to get lower and lower and lower. The percentage is going to keep dropping. Okay, I'm going to get into some of the questions now. I'm going to skip a lot, or not skip, but they just jumped over, so I'll just have to get right into the middle. A question comes from Amir. How far do I think Tron will go before it consolidates? Awesome question. I was talking about Tron a while ago. This is a project that I am super, super interested in. If you're not familiar with Tron, essentially a quick summary is, imagine if all the content that you've ever put out, say on YouTube, in your blog, on your website, if you're a musician, if you're a poet, if you're an artist, that when you put that out, it's essentially these centralized entities, whether it's Facebook or YouTube or wherever it may be, takes control of your content and then monetizes it for themselves. So the artists are really, or the creators are really getting shafted in this one. So what Tron is essentially doing is allowing artists and even game creators to have a platform where they can have control and ownership of their products and be able to circulate this to the world at large in a monetized fashion. So this is a fantastic solution for the artist who's looking to live and to thrive without having to succumb to the middleman. And this is really the most exciting thing for me about blockchain, is the removal of the middleman, making it more equal for the producer and the consumer. There's such a massive wealth inequality in the world, and I feel like so many people who are trying to live from a place of passion is a lot from artistic, and it is impossible to try to get content out there online, especially artistically, to have it valued, because all these centralized places are really just undercutting people. So Tron is a phenomenal solution for these middleman entities to be cut out. All right, what else is in the news right now? Well, if you've been trying to log on to Binance, on the same topic actually of Tron, which is listed on Binance and probably caused this crash, Binance is down. So we have about 110 comments trying to come into the group, asking, why am I locked out of Binance? What is happening? The answer is they are undergoing server maintenance. I'm pretty sure they have been massively overloaded. The volume coming in on Tron right now is unlike anything else that has come in. However, it isn't too large. I had a look. It was only around 25 million from last I checked. But there's a heavy load on Binance, and not just with the money being spent, but I'm sure with users coming in as well. It may just be the straw that broke the camel's back. A lot of these exchanges are getting 100,000 new users per day. That is insanity. The rate of increase and load on these servers is unprecedented. And just to try to keep pace is actually spectacular that they're able to do so. So, and this brings it forward another point is, so what is the solution? We have issues with Coinbase, high fees and slow transfer times, Bitrex not accepting new users, Binance not accepting new users, and downtimes. What's the solution? The answer is decentralized exchanges. So if you haven't checked out Halo platform, definitely check it out. It's going to be coming out very soon. A decentralized exchange essentially means that there is no central entity that can fail. Everybody acts as a support to the server so that the server can continue to run as many computers are aiding the platform to operate. Also, with this no central point of failure, it allows for heightened security as well. So decentralized exchanges are very phenomenal to be looking at right now. One of them, who I haven't looked into quite as much as I'd like to, is Kyber. I'll just mention the name. I won't say any more than that. Check that out. But Halo platform is certainly something that I would look into if you're looking for a fantastic all-in-one decentralized exchange solution. Also, what they do is it's essentially a closed loop payment system where you can pretty much just throw your bank account aside. You don't need that anymore because you can receive payments through an API, and you can also send payments. So what I mean by that is, like, let's say you have an Etsy shop or you have a Craigslist. You can throw a little API that says, pay me in Ethereum, pay me in Omise Go. It doesn't really matter. People can pay you. It goes into your Halo account, and then Halo issues you a debit card, and you can pay with that. Okay, right on. I'm going to jump back into the questions here. Right, and so people are, why is Litecoin getting beaten up lately? It's slipping in rank as to market cap. This is coming from John. And I wouldn't say necessarily it's getting beaten up. You know, I think in cryptocurrency, we have a lot of expectations in short term. This is unprecedented in the investment industry. When have we seen this next to the .com bubble growth rate like this? Like, if you had invested in Litecoin 6 months ago at $20 and today it's at 240, you know, this certainly isn't Litecoin dead. This is Litecoin in an explosive 10x growth in 6 months. All that's happening is that other projects are starting to get into the limelight. You know, Tron has surpassed it. Stellar Lumens, Cardano. Stellar Lumens, another fantastic project that is working with these really quick financial transaction payments, similar to Ripple, but in a way different. And Cardano, if you haven't checked out Cardano, this is essentially Ethereum already with its issues solved. Right now, Ethereum's on proof of work, running 10 transactions per second, and Cardano is running multiple side blockchains so that there can be many more applications put on top. I also believe that they are running on proof of stake. Don't quote me on that, but I'm almost fairly certain. So, and then Ethereum, right? Let's talk about Ethereum and its transactions per second right now. Let's compare it to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's running at around 3 to 4 transactions per second. Absolutely terrible when you compare it to Visa or MasterCard that can run around 10,000 transactions per second. Ethereum for the last month has actually doubled its transactions from around 6 transactions to staying regularly over 10 transactions per second for the last month, which is a massive improvement. They're coming out with scaling solutions such as Raiden. You can also invest into the Raiden token through, I'm not sure which exchange, but check it out on CoinMarketCap. It'll tell you Raiden is a scaling solution for Ethereum where they're doing side blockchains. And so what that is essentially is there'd be one main blockchain, and all the transactions that hit that one blockchain, those count as the transactions per second. But let's say myself and you want to run some transactions back and forth. Well, we create a separate side blockchain for that and run transactions between us. Let's say we do 50 transactions back and forth. And then once those 50 transactions are done, then we send one to the main blockchain. And so that is why Raiden is allowing Ethereum network to scale, at least not to a sufficient amount where it needs to be like the number one smart contract provider in the world, but certainly a massive step in the right direction, because now people can have interactions happening off-chain and then bringing them on-chain. And that's actually a little bit of what Raiblocks is doing as well. Different in some regards, but they're using off main chain transactions, bringing them main chain to allow for more scalability. Check into Plasma. This is where Ethereum is going to be moving next. This will allow for millions of transactions per second. So let's dive back into the questions. So a lot of talk about Ripple. A lot of people have contradicting opinions. Ripple essentially is very much used by central banks, and there's no secret behind that. And so in a way, it is contradicting what blockchain is going for. You know, blockchain is a movement towards equality, decentralization, bringing the power back to the people. Ripple keeps the power with the banks, but also I feel like the real catalyst to blockchain and cryptocurrency adoption isn't going to be ideology. As much as that's what fuels me and my passion to talk about it, it's not what is really inspiring a lot of people to hop on. What's really inspiring people to hop on is two things: cheaper, faster. And that's what Ripple is providing. It's providing a faster, cheaper service for banks to convert currency and to send it interbank. And so people will start to use Ripple. Banks are already using Ripple. So it's a fantastic solution. There may be some morality issues for you in investing in it. That's totally fine. I think what we need to realize, though, is that faster and cheaper is really what's going to get us there. You know, to see mainstream adoption. Let me backtrack a little bit. When people first found out about the internet, they don't understand how it works. People don't need to understand how blockchain works to get on board with the movement. They just need to start seeing utility in it. And when we start seeing utility, that's when we see adoption. And what kind of utility will we see in blockchain? Well, it is through these faster and cheaper methods where people don't even know that they're using blockchain. So it'll be an app on your phone. It would be, let's say it's similar to Spotify, a decentralized Spotify. Rather than costing you $10 a month, you simply use microtransactions. So you would spend, let's say, 1/10 of a penny to listen to a song, and it would go directly to the artist. And that's fantastic. It's a win for you. You pay less, and it's a win for the artist because they get paid more. Spotify, obviously, Centralized, Airbnb, Uber, Netflix. These are all banks. These are all centralized entities that are taking a cut from the consumers and from the producers. And this is something that should be changed in our world. So this is what blockchain is going to do, and this is what's going to catalyze adoption. Devin asks, what is the ticker for Halo? I believe it's Halo, and it is spelled like that. Just go into the website Halo Platform Tech, because they are not on coinmarketcap.com. They're not on exchanges yet. Currently, they're in the mid stage. They just finished up with their ICO, and they are just getting ready to get on the exchanges as they are just polishing up on their product right now. Going through the comments. Dum, dum. Many. Just comments about Ripple as I go through. Jordan, one of my really good buddies. He asks, is hashgraph a threat? So currently hashgraph, if you're not familiar, it is not something that you can invest in. It's currently private. Will this be forever? Will it always be private? My educated guess is definitely not. I'm assuming that they will be launching public so that people can get involved in this, because people are going to need to be able to build applications on it as well. Not that that has any direct correlation with being able to invest in it. But essentially, to answer the question, is Ethereum a threat to Bitcoin? My answer is no, because they serve two different functions. I wouldn't say Ripple is a threat to Ethereum. I wouldn't say IOTA is a threat to Tron. They're all serving very different functions. They're all applications. So hashgraph is very much a platform similar to IOTA, and say, well, let's just leave it at that. It would be similar to IOTA. So maybe there could be competition in between hashgraph and IOTA. But I think the term threat is just, it's an interesting one, because when we're able to invest in something, then it's more like an opportunity. So if hashgraph does launch public, then hashgraph would be another opportunity. I think all of these new technologies are fantastic. I'm a huge fan of Ethereum. And, I see Neo come up, I see Cardano come up, I see Quantum coming up, and it makes me excited. I love Ethereum. I absolutely love it. And all of those three serve as a massive competitor to Ethereum, and in my opinion, have better technology. So I wouldn't see it as a threat, but I'd rather see it as an urge towards technological advancement of Ethereum. And if I see that, Ethereum actually isn't keeping pace with what I would like to see, then I have full opportunity to practically transfer my investment over into something that I more believe in and see that there is momentum and progress happening. That being said, there is massive momentum behind Ethereum, both in developers, in application adoption. And in corporate adoption, the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance has over 150 major companies with the likes of ING, Deloitte, Mitsubishi, Microsoft, ING. It is massive. And in terms of consumers, if you look at coinmarketcap.com right now, of the top 100 cryptocurrencies, last I checked, it was around 44 of them actually are applications run on Ethereum. So that is absolutely massive momentum for Ethereum. Mohammed asks, is there any crypto aimed at the entertainment sector like music and movies? Yes, that is Tron. Just going through them. Michael Feldman asks, thoughts on Monero? So this is a fantastic topic, privacy coins. These are definitely a major topic of conversation right now. How private is the coin? What's the transaction speed? There's many, and what's the fee? And there's a lot of variables happening right now. We've seen more pinpoint with Verge, fantastic transaction speed, high transactions per second, and high privacy. It has skyrocketed up to 20 cents from 2 cents, I believe. No, even much, much lower. Verge has just exploded. And so Verge is a privacy coin. Let me gather my thoughts here. Monero is kind of like the Bitcoin of privacy coins. It's been around on the dark web the longest. It has a lot of momentum. Its transactions per second are decent. However, its transaction fees are one of the higher ones. Let's compare that to another major one, Dash. It is definitely construed that Dash is not 100% private, but its fees are much better. There are many different options for privacy coins. I would definitely urge you in the cryptocurrency investing group there's a little search bar on the left, type in privacy coins, and you'll see a massive mega thread where there's about like 500 comments of people discussing privacy coins back and forth and the pros and cons of both. And so just do some research for yourself and see, what do you value more? Do you value more, say, like Monero, that's been around for a long time, that has credibility, that has like proof of concept, I guess you could say, that's been around for a while, or something that's a little more speculative that has the potential to be much more technologically advanced than Monero. Joe Carlin asks, are there any upcoming ICOs that have really grabbed my attention? Yes, 100%. I don't, especially recently with the landscape of the cryptocurrency scene, ICO investing has become a little interesting because you lock your funds away for such a long amount of time. Like when I first invested in Halo, for example, Ethereum was around $300. So for me to break even, Halo has to triple right out of the gate. So ICOs are becoming less and less attractive to invest into unless they're really short ICOs. So that being said, that little preamble, the ICO that I'm really looking into right now is actually the ICO that I'm partnered up with, and it is Crowd Machine. What Crowd Machine is doing is essentially, it's massive actually. It's allowing you to create decentralized applications without having any coding knowledge whatsoever. So what does this mean? Because right now it costs up to millions of dollars to create decentralized applications, and it creates an insane amount of time. With Crowd Machine, it's literally like drag and drop, like you're making an iTunes playlist to create smart contracts and decentralized applications. And it runs up to 45 times faster to create these decentralized applications. And you don't even need to really know at all how to code. So myself, I'm not a developer, I'm not a coder, but I signed on for the Crowd Machine beta testing. And I'm super excited to get on it and to build some applications because it's just drag and dropping of functions. And once you essentially create like a formation of functions, you can then give those to others to use, or rather than giving them, actually they're open source and people can start using those functions, and every time they get used, you get paid. In tandem with this, these applications are run on a platform similar to Golem, where everything is run on a crowd computer, so you can devote your spare computing processing power to run these decentralized applications. So essentially, in a nutshell, what Crowd Machine is doing is allowing decentralized applications to run faster, to be built faster, to run more efficiently, and anybody can build them. So I really believe that Crowd Machine is going to be a catalyst for an explosion in decentralized applications, because now anybody can build them, and it costs little to no money at all, because the time spent is much less and the skill set needed is infinitely less as well. If you go onto crowdmachine.com, I believe, you can sign up for their whitelist and they'll get in the know on the ICO. The ICO is not announced yet, but it's slated for sometime in February. And also talking about, at the beginning, what I started rambling on was how there's like long periods of ICOs where you lock up your funding. Crowd Machine is doing more of an EOS style fundraiser where it's divided into 12 different sections. And the longest section is 28 days. So your funds are never locked up for longer than, your funds aren't locked up for a long time. So you don't have to worry about the market going up while you're invested. Hope says, can you speak on taxes? I had a thought that until you take profit in fiat, I would need to pay taxes. Heard that you need to pay trades on alts. Yes, so this is a massive question. I am not a tax attorney, so I cannot legally speak to this, but I can certainly reiterate what I have heard. Andrew Gordon, he did come on into our group and gave a fantastic live stream with Meredith. One sec. And I'll just give a quick summary of what I understood from this. Again, this is not my advice, just what I understand. So essentially, in the worst way possible, everything is taxable. So let's say you have $100. Let's just run a mock scenario here. You have $100, you put it into Ethereum. That Ethereum then goes to $200. You're like, okay, great. I want to take profits and withdraw it. So you withdraw your $100 or your $200. Well, you are now taxed on $100 of the essentially profit. So that's scenario one. You get taxed on your profits. Scenario two, you have $100. You invested in Ethereum. Ethereum goes to $200, and then you just trade Ethereum for Bitcoin. That is a taxable event as well, because you have just essentially you're trading after the profit has been accrued. So you just need to account for that $100 net gain. And then let's say the Bitcoin goes down to 100. Let's say the Bitcoin halves. And then you trade that back to Ethereum. Well, now you can essentially counteract your double profit and your half loss, and they cancel each other out. However, I'll just reiterate that. So if Ethereum goes up double, you trade it to Bitcoin. So right now you're at, let's say, double your net 100, and then Bitcoin goes down half, and so you drop $100 in value. You can put those against each other, and so they essentially cancel each other out. However, if Bitcoin goes up, let's say another double, well, now you have $300 of net that you have to report on your taxes. This is an absolute nightmare because there's 1,001 exchanges that I'm sure everybody uses, and they say that the exchanges don't even report your trades fully. So I don't even know how we're supposed to do this, honestly, because the IRS is just, I'm a Canadian guy, so I'm just speaking to Americans. I think that's a majority of the demographic here. The IRS is going to see this spreadsheet that we're supposed to manually write down and take that for gospel. It's just ridiculous. Anyways, that's the cut and dry law side of it. From what I understand is that everything is taxable, and creating LLCs and all these little loopholes doesn't look too promising. So report the taxes. This is the best way to do it. But really the best way to do it is to buy and hold, buy and hold, buy and hold. Just on that note as well, if you're using a 10X card or a Shift Pay card, to a debit card that uses cryptocurrency, every one of those transactions is a taxable event based on where you bought in the crypto at and where it's at when you spent it. So again, an absolute nightmare to report this kind of thing. So there's 3 questions in a row. What about Omise Go? What about QSP? What about DGB? So I love talking about different projects, but I also really want to urge people that knowledge is power. When you self-empower yourself, that was a strange sentence, that is where the real oomph comes from. Don't trust me because if I give a wrong call, well, now I'm on the hook. But also you want to be able only invest in what you know. If you're asking for my advice on a project, there's not enough research happening into it. I love to talk about the broad overview on what a project is, but please, please, please read through the white paper, read through their communities, get involved, like get into the nitty gritty, only invest with what you know, don't go on the John McAfee pumps and just try to ride the train unless that's your specialty, because you're going to get caught. This market is so volatile. And I feel like we all feel like we're little Warren Buffetts right now, because the market has gone up so exponentially much in the last little while that we all feel like superstar traders. But this may not always be the case. We could see a bear cycle. It could last a month, could last 6, who knows? So I guess the bottom line here is research your projects, please. But I will say Omisco, fantastic. What kind of growth do I expect for Tron this year? It's impossible to speculate on these kinds of things. Here's what I can speculate on is that the entire cryptocurrency space, we talked about Coinbase getting 100,000 new users daily. It is growing at an exponential rate. We're seeing lots of adoption, lots of applications, not just applications, but people starting to really develop and use these applications as well. So I really, 10x for the crypto space in 2018 would be a very conservative estimate. Just reading through. Right. Okay. So this is a fantastic question. I'm just going to read it out. This is from Jared. I love the idea of everything commercially important, such as Spotify, Airbnb, etc., being decentralized. But companies or organizations of some kind have to make their effort to set up these economies. So, in your opinion, what is the incentive for these organizations to set up these decentralized exchanges? Is it just that you believe the founders and participants will accept less of a cut and be happy they've innovated a market? Altcoins are obviously the big incentive now. Perhaps that's the way for the foreseeable future. For sure. Awesome, awesome, awesome question. So, on one hand, we'll speak to the more esoteric side. You look at a guy like Brock Pierce, the guy who founded EOS. Guy has more money than he can ever need in his life. His mission, his reason for being is to really create change in the world. His definition of a billionaire is somebody who influences positively a billion people. Money simply does not buy happiness. And once you reach to a certain point, this realization really does come to pass, and you really start to become more philanthropic. Someone like Vitalik, Joe Lubin, these guys, they have no need for money anymore. Their full initiative is to make the world a better place. And so I think this is beautiful. On the other side, let's just say somebody doesn't have money. They're looking to start up a company. Test case scenario, yeah. So I'm Jeff. I'm looking to start up a company. Maybe I don't have a lot of capital, and I want to be rewarded for my efforts. It makes sense. So there's different ways that I can do this. If I start up an ICO, and let's say the ICO raises $20 million, well, I can allocate, say, $2 million for the founders, development team, and whoever else is involved with the team. So I'd say I'd get paid out $200,000 just for my time and effort. So there's an incentive right there. Also, with token allocation, this is the major way that a lot of these people are getting paid. You look at the guy from Ripple, I'm blanking on the name right now, but he holds a majority share of Ripple tokens, and his net worth actually just surpassed Mark Zuckerberg because he's holding their tokens, which increase in value. So let's say you create Tron. You're the creator of Tron, just like you're saying there, Jared, about Spotify, Airbnb. And I create Tron, I launch, let's say, 100 million tokens. I decide, I'm going to keep 1 million just to give myself a thank you pat on the back and incentivize myself. So Tron goes up to $1. Well, that has now become very profitable for me. So that is the incentive for a lot of these people who are creating new products, is to just keep a little bit of tokens as a self-incentive to grow that project. And Kur says, which coins do you recommend that are dirt cheap right now with low market cap right now and can zoom like Ripple? So second part of the question, awesome, because dirt cheap, again, is irrelevant because the price is really reliant. The market cap is really what you want to be looking at. Price times circulating supply equals market cap. And so market cap is really what you want to look at. The one that I'm really excited about right now is Rise. And Rise essentially is allowing people to build decentralized applications in any programming language and is running on proof of stake. It's a really fantastic project. I believe right now it's sitting around maybe around the 100th rank cryptocurrency. So Rise is my big dark horse, and around there as well, I really like Substratum. I think Substratum is a lot higher though. I wouldn't say it's a dirt cheap coin. And if you're not familiar with Substratum is essentially allowing for a decentralized internet. There's a lot of talk around net neutrality lately, and so this is something that is much, much needed. Just reading through the comments. Lots of comments, lots of questions about CrowdMachine. And again, you can just check out crowdmachine.com, sign up for the whitelist, and then you'll be notified when the ICO does go live. You can also go on their website, and please join the Telegram group. We have a good conversation going on in there about what's happening, all the recent news and events. This is the way to do it. Okay, just to break the silence, I'll read one of the comments here. How can someone calculate what the potential price of a coin could be? I've seen calculations using market cap, total supply, etc. I don't mean this as a prediction, but more so to know whether a coin should be able to, but where a coin should be able to go, I believe, is that what he means. Some coins stay around $1 to $5, but some go up to $300, right? So this is, I'll just reiterate on this. Essentially, forget about the price, I think, is the bottom line. Forget about the price. Don't worry about the price. Look at the market cap. That is the number one thing to look. And let's say the market cap is at $100 million. And then you can just evaluate, okay, like how big is this project? Like, let's look at, say, Ethereum, for example. You know, what's it looking to do? Well, it's looking to be the number one smart contract provider in the entire world. And what are smart contracts and decentralized applications going to be? Well, essentially everything and absolutely anything. So judging by that, you know, you can really easily assume that it's going to reach into the trillions of market cap easily. And so from there, then you say, okay, so let's say the market cap right now is, what's it at? Let me check. Ethereum's market cap is 100 billion. This is easy math. You say, okay, well, it's probably going to go to easily 1 trillion. So that's a 10x from here. So what I'll do is I'll look at the price, 1,000, and say, okay, well, then Ethereum's price can easily go to 10,000. And that is a very tangible estimation. Eric asks, I have several altcoins, but not sure where to store them. Any recommendations on where to store my Omisco, my Tron, and my Cardano? So here is my number one suggestion. I love talking about this. I try to talk about it on every live stream. Get a cryptocurrency hardware wallet. It is the safest place to store your crypto. And if you have more than let's say 2 weeks worth of pay in cryptocurrency, get yourself a hardware wallet. It's almost inexcusable to not have it. Go onto their official website. Just Google Ledger Nano. There's no phishing ads out there right now. But you know what? Let me just ledgerwallet.com for the Ledger Nano, and then go to the Ledger Nano S. If you don't want to spend $100, then I urge you, please activate two-factor authentication on your exchanges. And so go into your settings, check out, it'll say privacy, then two-factor authentication. And what that does is it gives you a code that updates every 10 seconds. That's a secondary password that you have to put in. So if somebody ever hacks your password, because that is a very common thing right now, without your phone, they cannot hack you because the password is always changing. So now something very important to realize about this is there's 2 ways to do two-factor authentication. One is through text messaging. Never, ever, ever do that. Somebody can just call your phone provider, say, hey, I'd like this SIM card changed to this phone. They do it. Now they have your 2FA because they just swapped your SIM card. So always do it through an application. I like to use Google Authenticator. This is the one that I like to do. Nick says, have I looked into Polymath? Thoughts? I have definitely looked into Polymath. Polymath is essentially tokenizing the securities industry. And that's where I'll leave it. I think Polymath is going to be absolutely massive. They aren't running an ICO. Check out Polymath. Sumer says, would I rather invest in Stellar or Tron? As I touched upon earlier, a lot of these different, lots of different cryptocurrencies have different applications. Stellar and Tron are both drastically different. So unless you have one that excites you more, for example, Tron excites me. I can get behind it. I'm really excited about it. So that's the one that I invest in. But if you're just looking for, say, an investment purposes and you're unsure, go 50-50 until you know and have done your due diligence on what both of these projects are. I think the number one rule is never, ever rush into a new project. Let's say you have, this is how I started. I started with 100% Ethereum. And until I found out like fully what my next investment was about, what it was, I kept everything 100% Ethereum because I had spent literally a month awake till 4 a.m. every night reading about Ethereum, reading about its roadmap, its developments like Raiden and upcoming Casper. I was freaking excited. And so that's why I went all in on it. And then I diversified from there. Alan says, what are my thoughts on Raiblocks? Yeah, I touched on this a little earlier. Raiblocks, fantastic zero fee solution with, I believe it's 10,000 transactions per second that they're working for right now, which just blows Bitcoin and even currently Ethereum out of the water. So I like Raiblocks. Have not invested myself though, that's the disclosure, because I still need to do more due diligence. I know about the project, I get the overview, I've listened to the community, but I think general rule of thumb is don't invest for at least a week. Like really gather your knowledge into it. Yeah, lots of questions about just like, hey, what about this coin? What about that coin? I love to talk about them, but I really do implore everybody to do the research yourself. I think that's the biggest thing right now is where to research. Nobody knows because everything is totally scattered. So me and the cryptocurrency investing team are currently putting together something that will be a essentially all-encompassing platform for all educational resources so that the answer could just be like, hey, check out this site. But as for right now, I'd really suggest like go on, like the ways that I like to do it from, I guess, like most generic out is I'll go onto YouTube. I'll see if they have any videos because I find animated videos are really easy to understand. And then I'll go on their website. I'll read through the front page of their website. That's usually very easy to understand as well. Then if I still like it, then I'll go into their communities, generally on Reddit, and I'll read about them, see what people are saying on their community. And then I'll ask their community, who are your competitors? And they'll answer. And then I will go into that community. So let's say I'm researching Ethereum. They'll say, our competitor is Neo. Then I'll go into Neo and I'll ask the Neo guys, hey, why is Neo better than Ethereum? And they'll give me a bunch of reasons. And then I'll ask the Ethereum guys, why is Ethereum better than Neo? And I'll counter compare those two. From there, then I generally have like a very nice understanding that's really easy to grasp. And so from there, then I usually take it to the white paper, which tends to have a little more technical language. And so this is a really good path for a lot of you to follow to hit the white paper last. Because once you have a broad understanding of the project, even though there might be some things in the white paper that you don't fully understand, you'll be able to formulate an opinion based on what you already do understand. Whoa, Paul just says, Binance stopped accepting new users. Just as a FYI, 250,000 new users in the last 24 hours. That is phenomenal. That's incredible. We are seeing some kind of adoption right now. I'm going to totally butcher these numbers, but it was if 1/3 of the world invested, well, I guess I could do the math. Somebody do the math for me. If 1/3 of the world all invested $100 into cryptocurrency, the amount invested would be astronomical. Well, I guess let's do that real quick. There's let's say a third is 3 billion. Everyone invests $100. That's $300 billion in the crypto market. Yeah, that wasn't the stat. It was something. I don't know how they worded that. Forget I ever said any of that. From Canada, says Stratty, best way to trade on an exchange without losing too much value of your money. Yeah, so Canadian guy here, so shout out to my Canadian people. we get shafted on all exchanges. We get burned on the conversion rate. So the only exchange that I found that doesn't burn Canadians is quadrigascx.com. They actually deal with Canadian currency, and fees are relatively low. Mike says, Coinbase to Binance, the safest and easiest way to start out. You know what? I would say, yeah, that's a really nice solution, Mike. Start on Coinbase. The fees are a little bit higher, but and you can't put in as much. But, you know, just for an entry-level person who's not investing too much capital, that's a really nice flow. Alan says, I read the white paper on Poet, and seems to be the business case is sound regarding metadata on publishing ownership. Is this one you would look at? Yeah, Poet's been in my peripherals for a long time now. Certainly something very interesting. I haven't looked into it yet, but I would urge a lot of the people who are listening here to check out Poet, and I'd love to have a discussion in the group about it as well. This is something very interesting. It's similar to Tron, as people are beginning to take ownership of their created content, but Poet is more in regards to data publishing, so more so, I guess you could say, documentation, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe correct me, Alan. Then Oscar comments, Coinbase to GDAX to Binance saves the fees. Right, that's the best way to do it. Thank you, Oscar. Steve asks, where do you find the white paper of a company? So if you go on their website, generally it'll be on the header. It'll just be a word that says white paper. Just click on that. Might be a downloadable PDF, might be embedded natively on their website, and there it is. Generally, they're around 20 pages, take around 10 to 15 minutes to read. Definitely worth it, 100% if you're looking to do an investment, is to look through the white paper. This is a different topic, but I'd like to speak on it because this is actually what got me into the investment game. Abby asks, where to invest in Canadian MJ as a US citizen? Looking for exchanges. So there's a lot of essentially pot coins, you could say, in cryptocurrency. I don't invest in any of them. However, if you're looking to invest into marijuana stocks, you can just do that through traditional exchanges, Toronto Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ. Sorry, not the NASDAQ, but your traditional stock exchanges. And so if you're not familiar with the big players are Canopy, Aurora, Afria. Those are the big three. And this is my secret tip, Marican for Canadian marijuana. Grady asks, where do I see Golem going? So it has potential. It's a very strong project. However, one of the things is it's like quote unquote pay to play. So that means that to use it, you have to pay for it. And so there's other options out there. The name of it is escaping me, but Golem is not a proprietary thing anymore. Lots of projects are using this technology. I'm still invested in Golem because there's momentum behind it in relation to a lot of these other projects. But even something like Crowd Machine is already using the same framework and foundation that Golem is using, but just as a small part of the platform. So I think there's a lot of other options out there. I wouldn't be putting more than 1 or 2% of my portfolio into that. Wendy asks thoughts on IOTA. Yes, I'm a huge advocate for IOTA. Well, let me put it this way. I'm a huge advocate for technology that is pushing the boundaries. And I understand there's some issues happening with IOTA, but what I love and appreciate is that they are trying for something that is not currently in existence. Like say something comes, let's say Bitcoin had an ICO today. Nobody would invest in it. It's garbage. 3 to 4 transactions per second, like $20 fees. Are you kidding me? That's garbage. We in the cryptocurrency space, we need something that is innovative. We need something that's pushing the boundaries. Even if it's not working at first, we're moving in the correct direction. And so that's what I love about IOTA. It's still in testing phases. It's, we're cryptocurrency, blockchain, it's still so new. They're using the Tangle. It's something totally new from blockchain and next level up. So let's give it some time, guys. I really do like IOTA. I love technology that is pushing the boundaries. Joe asks, most of the new coins brag about the transactions per second and the fees. How do you differentiate between the coins if they are so similar? Awesome question. So generally the transactions per second and the fees will be different, but let's say that they're similar. If they are similar, then I would look at, how long has this project been around? Is there an actual functioning platform happening? How many users are using it? What's the adoption rate? Who is the team? And what is the roadmap? What is looking to be done? These are the things that I'd be looking at. So what's currently in existence and what's projected in the future, and who is the driving force behind this, not just on the team, but also for the community. Great question, Josie. Eric says, I heard Ripple going onto Coinbase on January 8th. Yeah, there were three. It was Ripple, Humanic, and a third one. Somebody comment below. There's a third one on there. Right. Summer asks, how do you decide when to get into a coin? Tron is at an all-time high. How do people identify dips? This is a fantastic question. So, and this is personal opinion. When I decide that I want to invest in a coin, it's not that I'm investing, I'm not trading. And so because of that, it's a long-term move. So even though Tron may be at an all-time high today and there may be a dip, I don't care, because in 1, 2, 10 years, the price right now will be absolutely insignificant to where it is in that length of time. So I don't worry about trying to time it, because you'll never get it perfect and it just adds stress. When I want to invest in something, I let myself relax. I forget about the dips and the waves, and I keep researching until I feel satiated. When I feel satiated, that's the moment that I invest. Let's say Tron right now. Somebody just heard about Tron. Wow, it's a phenomenal coin. They just heard me talk about it a lot. I want to get invested. It looks like it's booming, but I don't know enough about it yet. So let's say there was a dip that happened, and the dip happens in 1 hour. Well, you haven't had time to research it. So is the dip right now the right time to invest? I would say no. I would say the right time to invest is when you're familiar with the project. If you lose out on an initial 20 to 30%, I would say that's a phenomenal move, because you want to be educated about what you're putting your capital into rather than trying to hop on the hype train. So to answer your question, Summer, is the decision to get in on a coin is at the point in time when you're fully informed about it. And then the second question, how do you identify a dip? Dips in the cryptocurrency space are generally around 30% or over. Just reading through. Levin asks, do you have a podcast? This is something I'm super, super proud of. My partner Lisa has put together a podcast for our group. It's called the Cryptocurrency Investing Podcast. And if you search cryptocurrency on iTunes right now, we are currently the -- 4 podcast related to cryptocurrency in the world. I think that is very cool. And what the podcasts are actually are a few interviews, and we've taken some of these live streams like we're doing right now and just thrown them right up there. So I'm very proud of it. And actually there's another site called Spreaker, which is, besides iTunes, one of the largest audio experience providers in the world. And we're actually one of the top 3 featured podcasts in the entire world, not just cryptocurrency related. And so that kind of blows my mind a little bit. I feel very blessed for that. Things have been really taking off. And so I'm just really excited to continue to share knowledge and information on how to best position yourself in the cryptocurrency space, because I really do believe this technology is going to create equality, transparency, and newfound security in our world. And that's why I'm here. You know, we talked about Brock Pierce earlier and how he's doing this. Let's make the world a better place. This is my essence as well. I want people to have equality, to be able to be on a level playing field. I think there's so much wealth in the world that has the potential to be equally distributed, and all it takes is a little bit of knowledge. So that's my ikigai, like my reason for being, is to share the knowledge that I take in. Edward asks, lots of hate for Ripple right now because of its centralized and will ruin altcoins at a fundamental level. Don't you think there is room for both centralized and decentralized? Great question. Let's break it down. It won't ruin altcoins just because everything has a different application. You know, the rise of altcoins isn't ruining Bitcoin. Bitcoin is still doing its thing. It's still doing great, but altcoins are doing better. So it's not ruining Bitcoin. Bitcoin just needs to start picking up its socks. If anything, it's encouraging it to innovate. So I don't believe in one tech ruining another, just simply catalyzing innovation. Do I think there's room for centralized and decentralized? 100%. 100%. Ripple will have a utility for years to come. I strongly believe this. However, I do not invest myself. How do I see, and on this same note, Wendy asks, how do I see hashgraph tech affecting cryptocurrency? Their team are geniuses, absolute geniuses. I got an opportunity to interview with Mance. Guy was just on next level. It was actually hilarious. Before the interview, I said, okay, Mance, I want to have the first 5 minutes just very basic so anybody can grasp hashgraph. And then from there, we can start getting to more technical questions. And within the first 30 seconds, there was already so much high-level information. I knew that I had lost about 90% of the audience. So these guys are very, very, very intelligent. It's hard to like reel in their intelligence sometimes. It was quite hysterical. But to answer the question, Wendy, hashgraph essentially can be very much a part of cryptocurrency. And we'll see, I think the only tension for hashgraph is that currently it's private and some people want to get in on the profits. So I think that's the only tension. I think hashgraph is a phenomenal thing. I'm here for the technology, for the advancement of civilization. So I'm team hashgraph. I can't invest in the thing, but I love it. There we go. Miguel says Ripple, Humanic, and Stellar are the three that are going to be added onto Coinbase. But then Eric above says the third, I think, is Cardano. I think it's Stellar. I think I remember seeing that. Jason says, I'm really thankful for this live video. Thank you for tuning in, Jason. This is why I do it, for you guys to help share some knowledge, help everybody lift up their education base so they can make informed investment decisions. I really believe that the world is meant to be enjoyed and that we can live it from a place of passion. And this is an amazing opportunity for us to become financially abundant so that we can then start exploring our passions, the things we love doing. So this is why I'm doing it. I want people to have financial abundance and knowledge, and also to create a global revolution. Strati says, your name sounds Greek. It's Lithuanian, but very close. I get Greek all the time. My question is, how big do you think crypto is going to get? Do I see a fall at one point, or is it just going to keep getting bigger? Something I touched upon at the beginning of this live stream, there will be little micro bubbles. You know, we saw Bitcoin go to 20,000, pop back down to 12. Actually, I think it touched off 10 really briefly. So we're going to see these little pops. But in the grand scheme of things, you know, cryptocurrency and blockchain is really going to really replace the internet, and and improve it and have more utility. So it's going to get absolutely massive. We haven't even started scratching the surface of utility because we're not using it in our daily lives right now. There is so much potential. I spoke earlier to a $10 trillion market cap. It's going to be much higher than that. Much, much higher. Oh, Tom, with a great question coming in. What are some major threats to the entire crypto space? I've been investing in crypto for 6 months. My greatest concerns have not been a major market correction, but waking up one morning and some foreign politics or regulations changed the space in a major way. Fantastic question. Awesome. So let's look to China, a place that is putting in regulations, that has taken down exchanges, that has banned ICOs. What have the people there done, and what can they do? Let's look at consumers first. Consumers what can they not do? Actually, they cannot go Chinese currency to cryptocurrency and back because the exchanges are now monitored, shut down, or regulated. So this is something that is monitored. Government can control, bottom line, fiat to crypto exchange. This is 100% in the government's control. There's nothing that we can really do, from my knowledge, to surpass this currently. You know, you have Bitcoin ATMs and things like this that cost around 20%. ouch, might as well just pay your taxes and actually give the cash to your society to build some roads potentially. But to answer the question, what else can they do? Not too much, really, not too much. The government, if you get a VPN, you can hide your IP address. People from China can just say that, hey, we are now from Canada, and so I can now use this exchange. Obviously illegal where they are, so risky for sure. People who are building out ICOs, they can just have the companies based out of a different area. They can move. They can continue these ICOs other places. Essentially, with the ability to change your IP address, anything is possible. So there's really not much that these countries can do unless you're North Korea putting up a giant firewall to totally stop in and outflow of information, which I just don't really see as being a viable option for the world as a whole. Like if, let's say, all of a sudden the United States decided we're going to firewall because of blockchain, they can't firewall specific things like this. They can only firewall, they firewall themselves in. So it would cut the US or whatever country off from mainstream internet. And that would just be a total disaster. It would never happen. In terms of what they can do, that's kind of regulations onto the consumer. What can they do to blockchain itself? Can blockchain ever fall and die? The answer is 100% not. Blockchain is simply a protocol. And what I mean by this is it's just essentially a spreadsheet that's open for everybody. And the only way to turn it off is to shut down the internet permanently. Even if you shut down the internet worldwide for 20 minutes, turn it back on, blockchain is still there. The blockchain is just a state of a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. And so there's really nothing that the government can do to affect blockchain as a whole. Let's say even the government does a successful, quote unquote, 51% attack, as we call it. You can just fork the blockchain from, let's say they have an attack on block 100, fork it from block 99, start a new one. That was what happened with Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. Ethereum Classic is chain number 1. Ethereum is chain number 2, and that's where everybody moved because there was a hack or something that discrepancy. So I don't really believe that the government can do anything at all, even if you are putting up these massive firewalls. You can even send, let's say, text, SMS, blockchain transactions with a private key encrypted, and then somebody else can broadcast that to, say, the Bitcoin or whatever blockchain network that you're working with. So even if you are putting an internet firewall up, people can still interact with the blockchain. So there's really no way to stop blockchain technology. They can certainly try to hinder it and make it difficult. You're seeing that with China banning exchanges. You're seeing that with the United States putting major tax implications and regulations. But in terms of stopping it and waking up one day, that's just not a reality. So you can sleep easy. Winfield says, drop the podcast link. Go into iTunes, search the Cryptocurrency Investing Podcast. That's where it's at. Or go into Spreaker, Spreaker. It'll be on the homepage, I think. Let me know if it's not. If I'm missing over your comments, it's nothing personal. It's just that either I've talked about it earlier in the live stream, or it's a question about a specific coin, and I want to keep the specific coin conversations to a minimum unless I feel very enthusiastic about it. Gavin, here's a good question. Do you think tech and team behind a coin is good enough to garner a good value? Example, Sidechain is great, but storage is worth more. What is causing storage to be worth more? So I won't speak to those two, for example, but I will speak to the original question, is that the team behind the coin certainly is what garners value. You look at Cardano, and the reason why Cardano has so much value to it is because you have Charles Hoskinson, one of the co-founders of Ethereum, who is building the thing. We look at Omise Go. The reason why it had so much value at the beginning, why it gained so much momentum so quickly, is because Vitalik, who is one of the co-founders of Ethereum, was also on that project as well. So Because essentially to get a project successful, you need to have people who are good at creating them. So if you have a good team with a good track record, I really would say that, yes, team is one of the most strong foundations and fundamentals to base an investment decision off. If the team has a strong track record, if they're well known in the blockchain space and have launched many successful projects already, that is a really good foundation to base your investment off. To base your first stroke of due diligence. There's much more to do, but team is very fantastic. Great question. Alan Love says, where's the hashgraph interview? You can check it out on the podcast. It's the first episode, or you can check it out on our YouTube channel. Just search cryptocurrency investing hashgraph. Just reading through some comments. Guys talking about Bitcoin and Litecoin dying, which is not true. We're talking about Humanic and the listing on Coinbase, specific coins. And currently the last comment is good penny cryptos to invest in. Again, just to reiterate, it is market cap that you want to be looking at. It is not the price. So check out coinmarketcap.com. And if you're looking for essentially like good undervalued companies, check out coins that have market caps of just under 50 million. There's a chance that they're going to have like a product and some viability and utility to them and not be total trash and have major room to the upside. So that would be my range, like right around the 50 million mark. Just go into CoinMarketCap, find a coin, click it, and do some research on it. You know, do 10 coins. I'm sure you'll find one that interests you, and then dig a little bit deeper into it, check out the community. That would be my suggestion for looking up penny cryptos or those ones with the potential 1000x. All right. Well, that is it. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. I'm super excited to be back to talk on this live stream. I'm very excited as to what's been happening in the cryptocurrency space with all the different projects rising and some, namely Bitcoin, falling. I'll always be one to cheer for that. And until they get Lightning Network, then I'll be back on Team Bitcoin. But anyways, thanks so much, guys. You have been awesome. Thank you for all the comments. The interaction is what keeps this fresh and make it last longer than 10 minutes. So super appreciated. Enjoy the rest of the day wherever in the world you are at, and happy 2018.